I'm so devastated right now. I'm not sure where to begin. This is a lengthy tale, but the only reason I discovered this sub is because it had been stuck in my brain all day and I couldn't talk to anybody about it. Please be considerate. So I've been married for 16.5 years, and my wife is 21. We've had our ups and downs. When I first met her, she was the sweetest, most kind lady I'd ever known. I informed her she was going to be my wife just 2 minutes after meeting her. We have 2 children who are my whole universe. She became distant, unhappy, and strange after our second kid. I assumed she was suffering from depression. She declined to investigate. She wanted couples therapy, but it was the middle of the recession, and I was just scraping by with 4 jobs and a side company. I couldn't afford another $50 a week, particularly since she refused to speak to me. When I asked her what was wrong, she constantly said, "I don't know." She does, however, have good and terrible weeks. She may be wonderful at times, yet she can also be cruel and rude. Once we were back on our feet, I persuaded her to accompany me to therapy. She ultimately said okay, although I'm not sure she loved it. We went to a lady who I believe she expected to tell us that I was doing everything wrong and that I needed to do better. She didn't do it. Not at all. She first told her the same thing I did. I can't work with someone I don't know. So my wife said that she needed extra assistance around the home. Cool. It was the year 2015. Since then, I've worked 3 jobs, vacuuming the home, emptying the dishwasher and sink every day, assisting with laundry, taking out the garbage, and cleaning the house. Things were going well for a while. Then she became hostile once again. She began snapping at my kid a lot this time. I finally approached her and informed her that I would never divorce her. I would strive to improve our marriage for as long as it needed. But, since my daughter is so similar to me, I believe she was venting her rage on her. That is something I will not accept. So if she wanted a divorce, we'd get one. The following day, she said that she wanted to give it a go. And for a few years, everything was okay. She even went to the doctor and was given an antidepressant, but she insisted on the smallest amount possible. Let's fast forward to 2020. I went straight back to being harsh and disrespectful. But it gets worse. When she talked to me, she spoke with contempt, and she looked disgusted whenever I showed up someplace. It was excruciating. Sex was never an issue for us, and we both appeared to love each other's company, but when she gets into these moods, she withholds. Even though I had several offers as a bartender, I never cheated. My sister once informed me that she felt I was cheating since my wife hadn't been putting out for so long. I promised her I'd never do anything like that. So, here we are. We were at a hotel last month after a wedding, and I was hoping to goof about when she told me flat out, "I'm not interested in you. I believe we should divorce." We decided to do it but postponed it until after the holidays for the sake of the kids. She slept off 10 minutes later. For 3 hours, I lay in bed, tears streaming down my cheeks. I expected it to be the most agonizing experience I'd ever had. And then there's today. She had to attend a softball team celebration for my daughter about a week ago. She wasn't home at midnight, so I checked our Life 360 app, and she was at an Applebee's. Strange, but I believe she afterwards met a buddy for a drink. She was there till 1, but they closed at 12. I inquired where she went, and she answered some pub with the party folks. It seemed surprising that they never mentioned Applebee's. Her employer advised her 2 days later that she needed to set a password on her phone because of business emails. I was now suspicious. Her mother phoned today and asked if I might assist her husband in moving a rug. So I went to assist. When I finished, I stood outside and checked the Life 360 app to see whether she had left work. She had done so. So I decided to give it a go. I phoned my wife since she has a horrible habit of having to chat on the phone while driving. She was brief and said that she needed to go since she was speaking with her mother, who was the person standing just in front of me. Okay. I returned home. When she arrived, I inquired how her mother was doing and whether she had informed her that I had visited her today. She denied it and asked where I had seen her. I said at her residence. When I dialed your number. Her brow furrowed. She made several flimsy explanations before admitting she was dating someone. We were married for a few months before deciding to divorce. I was taken aback. She was behaving as if nothing had occurred 10 minutes later. I'm not sure whether it was to keep the kids from finding out or because she didn't care that she crushed me, but I think the latter. I couldn't even speak to anybody about it since we'd kept the fact that we'd decided to divorce hidden from my children. And since we had to go to a Christmas village today, we were all out all night. My children were aware that something was wrong with me, but they assumed I was simply in a foul mood. "You sound wounded," my son stated flatly. "I'm not sure what I'm going to do. The possibility of divorce was already stressful, and I've lost 20 pounds in the last month without even trying, just trying to figure out how we can do this without losing my home. I've spent the past 15 years repaying her $10,000 in credit card debt, $15,000 in college loans, and $45,000 auto loan. I'm now going to owe her at least $40,000 for the home. It'll be difficult, but I believe I can accomplish it." I was just beginning to psychologically prepare for the divorce when this treachery struck me like a ton of bricks. She has harmed me more than I ever imagined imaginable in the previous month. I no longer recognize the lady I married. I'm at a loss on what to do. My girls will be upset when we tell her we're breaking up, but I'm not sure whether I should tell her since I don't want her to hate her mother. I'm bewildered, confused, worried beyond belief, and devastated, and when I look at my wife, she doesn't seem to care. Thank you for your time. I'm not sure whether what I said is permitted or too far off subject, but I appreciate you in any case since typing it out and getting it off my chest was really helpful. Even if I'm writing this with tears flowing down my cheeks. Thank you very much. Update: it's been 3 months since my original post, and it's been quite a journey. Please accept my apologies for the length of this message. I received a lot of feedback on my first post. Check my submission history to see the original narrative, but I opted to stick with my gut instinct and things are going well. Still not finished, as anticipated given the short time span. So, a week after my article, I discovered the guy's name when she was sending a Facebook message on her computer. That seems to be their only mode of communication. Most likely since he is married with 3 children. He is also a doctor and wealthy. That was a huge stomach blow to a person who was working 3 jobs to make ends meet. On Christmas, I discovered she had informed her whole family, including my sister and cousins' wives, that we were divorcing. Meanwhile, I hadn't informed anybody because I was afraid it might come back to my kids before the holidays were over. Her mother was furious. She was certain she was making the worst mistake of her life. My sister and her closest friend are in the same boat. She was unconcerned. Of course, she omitted out the bit about her infidelity. I couldn't speak to her mother at Christmas since she was already crying and I didn't want to alert my children. So I scheduled a call with her a few days later. My wife and I got down and chatted the following day. I told her I didn't want her to see him again until everything was over. It was insulting, and if she desired an amicable divorce, she would not treat a friend like way. She concurred. Then we spoke about how we'd divide things up. I believe I performed well. There is no alimony. There is no child support. Custody is split 50-50. We both provide clothing for the children, and everything else is shared evenly. I'll keep the house. I'm required to pay her $43,000 in equity. She came away with roughly $40,000, she owes her father $10,000, an 800 credit score, and no debt. It's all because of me. When I eventually went to meet with her mother, I discovered that when she got out we were going to chat, she told her everything. She first lied about adultery when her mother questioned, but later told her the truth. My mother-in-law was enraged. She was torn to shreds. Then she sobbed to me, afraid that I would cut her out of my life, which I told her would never happen. Now fast forward to the middle of January. I'm now 40 pounds lighter. Every day, I go to the gym to release tension. We must now inform my children. I told her I wouldn't lie to my children, but I also wouldn't simply out her. I told them that if they asked, I'd attempt to shift the subject in a new direction. She expressed similar sentiments. But I knew this wouldn't fly with my daughter. She's a 14-year-old clone of myself. She can smell BS a mile away. That is exactly what occurred. When we sat them down, my daughter inquired if we were getting divorced before we ever said anything. My kids were shocked when my wife answered yes. Lots of sobbing. I began weeping when I saw them crying. My wife then made a critical error. "Listen, we both want this," she remarked, and my daughter let her have it with all she had. She yelled, "That's nonsense. This is something my father would never desire. You want IT? Take a look at him. He's sobbing. I've never seen him weep before. This is your name." She then inquired as to whether my wife was cheating on me. My wife attempted to divert the topic, but she refused. She questioned her, repeatedly yelling, "Tell me the truth." Until my wife confessed. After that, it was as though I could see her mind working. She began repeatedly pointing out every red flag and forced my wife to admit it. She got more out of her in 3 minutes than I did in a month. After that, I spoke to my kids alone, My son is 12 and wanted reassurance that everything would be fine and would alter as little as possible. Although I can see he's looking forward to the end. My kid informed me that she was sobbing for me, not for herself. Because of how distressed I had to be. I consoled her and helped her feel better, and she then asked me to make a vow to her. Because I've never violated a commitment I made to my children. She begged me to pledge that if my wife loses her new home and needs a somewhere to stay for a bit when this is all done, she may remain here. With all of this nonsense going on, she could have asked for anything, and she was looking out for her mother. I couldn't refuse. She requested her mother to agree to cease talking to the man when she spoke to her. She betrayed her pledge after just 2 weeks. She's been sneaking around again, visiting him for half-hour periods at places like Target. I caught her again, and we had another blowout. And, once again, she promised to quit meeting him, despite the fact that she still chats to him. She seemed to have affections for him now. Hey, as I said, she can't lie to my kid, so when she realizes she breached her commitment, there's no need for me to inform her. I'm now in the process of refinancing my property, and she's hunting for her own. She has her wealthy aunt co-signing for her, so she should be able to find work shortly. Also, and I know this is going to be a contentious issue on this sub, yes, I have evidence, and yes, I now know all there is to know about this man, but I have opted not to inform his wife. I'm not pleased to admit it, but my motivations are entirely selfish and self-serving. The truth is that if I tell her, they will divorce, and when my wife departs, she will have a ready-made relationship waiting for her. A wealthy man who will still be affluent after divorce, taking her on costly dates and pleasant trips, assisting her with her finances, and so on, while I struggle. I want to harm her even more than I want to hurt him. Her sneaking around is ended when she departs, but his isn't. They will be unable to go on dates. Shell will discover how much of a side character she really is. They'll be allowed to meet solely at her place, and she'll have to depart as soon as he's done. He won't give her any money since it could upset his wife. And now that she has feelings for him, she will see whether he is willing to abandon his wife and family for her. I doubt he will. But if he does, that's good. But he'll have to be the one with the guts to do it. I'm not going to do his dirty job. That's what happened to her wealthy aunt. She a married guy, the wife discovered it and left, and she moved in. I went from being a penniless single mother to being a billionaire. That may happen with my wife, but I'm not going to contribute to it. Thank you for your time. I still read this sub on a regular basis, and it has been tremendously beneficial. And please try to be polite. I realize that not everyone will agree with everything in this article, but please try to understand that each circumstance is unique. Thank you very much.